Once upon a time, in a little house on a little street, there lived a 5-year-old girl named Emma. Emma had curly red pigtails, sparkly rain boots the color of sunshine, and a laugh that sounded like wind chimes dancing in a soft breeze. Emma was what everyone called an active girl. She skipped when she could have walked, twirled when she could have stood still, and asked at least 27 questions before breakfast every single morning. But even the most active little girls need a good night's sleep. And this is the story of the evening Emma finally, gently, wonderfully drifted off to dreamland. Right next to Emma's little house sat the coziest preschool you have ever seen. It had a bright yellow door, window boxes full of purple flowers, and a garden where butterflies like to rest their wings. Emma adored her preschool. It smelled like crayons and warm cookies, and her cubby had a little wooden star with her name painted on it in blue. Every afternoon, after school let out, Emma would skip home along the garden path, counting every stepping stone along the way. Emma's very best friend in the whole wide world was a fluffy, golden dog named Biscuit. Biscuit had enormous paws, floppy ears that draped over his eyes like curtains, and a tail that never, ever stopped wagging. Biscuit waited for Emma at the preschool gate every single day, his whole body wiggling with excitement. Wherever Emma went, Biscuit trotted right beside her, nose twitching, tail swishing, always ready for the next great adventure. One soft Tuesday evening, just as Emma finished painting a picture of a rainbow elephant at school, the sky outside turned the most beautiful shade of silver gray. The teacher, kind Miss Maple, opened the window and a cool, clean smell floated in. "Rain is coming," Miss Maple said with a smile. She reached into the big storage cupboard and pulled out the most magnificent umbrella Emma had ever seen. It was enormous, wide as a wagon wheel, deep blue like midnight, and dotted with tiny silver stars. "This is the preschool's special umbrella," Miss Maple said softly. "It keeps every raindrop safe and sound." Miss Maple helped Emma wrap both small hands around the long handle of the giant umbrella. It was a little wobbly at first, tilting left and then right, making Emma giggle. "Walk slowly," Miss Maple advised gently, "and let the umbrella guide you." Emma stepped out through the bright yellow door, Biscuit bounding happily to her side, and the very first raindrop fell, plink, right onto the top of the umbrella. Then another, plink, plink, plink. Each drop sounded like a tiny soft song, and Emma stood very still for a moment, just listening. Biscuit sniffed the rainy air and gave a little happy bark. Then he trotted ahead a few steps, looked back at Emma with his big warm eyes, and wagged his tail. Emma knew that wag. It was his adventure wag. "Okay, Biscuit," Emma whispered, "but we have to be home before supper." She followed him down the garden path, her boots splashing in the tiniest puddles. The great blue umbrella held high above their heads like a floating sky. The raindrops drummed a gentle lullaby on the umbrella's canopy. Plinkety, plinkety, plink. And the sound wrapped around Emma like a cozy blanket. Biscuit led Emma past the old oak tree where robins liked to sing, and past the bakery where the smell of fresh bread drifted out even in the rain. Emma breathed in deeply. Everything smelled fresh and wonderful, like the whole world had just had a bath. A little gray puddle appeared in the middle of the path, round and rippling with raindrops. Emma looked at it. She looked at Biscuit. Biscuit looked back at her with a very serious expression. Then Emma lifted her boot and jumped in with both feet. "Splash!" They both laughed, Emma with her bell chime giggle and Biscuit with his bouncy little bark. After a while, the path twisted around a bend Emma did not quite recognize. The houses looked a little different, and the street lamp ahead was a shade she hadn't seen before. Emma felt a tiny flutter in her tummy. "Biscuit," she said softly. "Which way is home?" Biscuit sat beside her and pressed his warm, fluffy side against her leg. Emma held the big umbrella steady and closed her eyes for just a moment. She listened to the rain. Plinkety, plinkety, plink. And she felt something warm and certain settle right in the middle of her chest. She knew that feeling. It was her heart, steady as a little drumbeat, telling her to turn left. Emma opened her eyes and turned left. Biscuit immediately jumped up and wagged his tail with great enthusiasm, which Emma took as a very good sign. She walked on, the umbrella stars twinkling above her even on this cloudy evening, the rain singing its soft, steady song. And sure enough, after just a little while, she spotted the old oak tree with the robins and the bakery with its warm bread smell. And then there was the yellow door of her preschool, glowing like a lantern in the gray evening. Emma smiled the biggest smile. Her heart had known the way all along. Emma skipped the last few steps up her own garden path, Biscuit prancing joyfully beside her. Her mum was waiting at the front door, wrapped in a soft cardigan, holding 2 mugs of warm cocoa. "There she is," Mum said, opening her arms wide. Emma ran in and pressed her cheek against Mum's warm shoulder. Biscuit squeezed in too, his wet fur making Mum laugh. "Come in out of the rain, you 2 adventurers," Mum said. Emma handed over the great blue umbrella, and Mum set it carefully by the door to dry, its silver stars still gleaming. After supper of buttered toast and warm soup, after Biscuit had his own bowl of kibble and curled into a golden circle on his cushion, it was time for Emma's bath. The warm water smelled of lavender, and Emma floated her rubber duck through imaginary rainy rivers, humming the little raindrop song she'd made up on the walk home. Plink, plink, plink. Mum washed her curly hair and wrapped her in the fluffiest towel, and Emma felt herself growing slower and softer with every passing minute. Mum tucked Emma into bed beneath the patchwork quilt with the yellow stars. Biscuit padded quietly into the room and curled up on his little rug beside Emma's bed, letting out one long, satisfied sigh. Mum smoothed Emma's hair back from her forehead and kissed her softly. "You found your way home tonight," Mum murmured. "How did you know which way to go?" Emma yawned a long, slow yawn, her eyes growing heavy as the softest clouds. "I listened to my heart," Emma whispered, her voice already far away and dreamy. "It always knows the way." Mum smiled and turned the lamp down to the dimmest, warmest glow. Outside, the rain fell gentle as a lullaby. Plink, 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 and Emma's eyes fluttered once, twice, and then closed all the way. She drifted off to the sweetest, deepest sleep, her heart steady and sure, dreaming of blue umbrellas and silver stars and Biscuit's warm golden fur, safe and sound and wonderfully, peacefully asleep.